Right then, so in this video what you're going to see is young Bob getting arrested for offending Islam. That is what we are getting here. Now, this video is going to be uploaded today on the 7th, the day I'm making it. So, yeah, if you see your name on the members and then tomorrow you don't, that's because I'm pushing this video forward about 10 days. Just to get it out there, because there's something very important I want to add to this video. Now, like I said, young Bob gets arrested for a public order offence. They use a public order offence to justify the arrest for offending Islam. Now, I'll get into why that is important to me in a minute, but first thing I'm going to do is let this whole video play out of the arrest and their grounds for the arrest. So let's just get into it.
I was there, I put it on camera. It's live. You can't lie. And then you want his details. Why do you want his details? Like, take a bit of paper, my phone, do all of this. You have to take a bit of paper. He doesn't want it, like. Have they got rid of you? No, he hasn't, mate. Oh. No, he hasn't.
Well, they section.
He don't know no man.
They dispersed you, Bob.
He's not very good at reading now.
Fucking, he was only having a debate with someone. What the fuck?
Okay, so if I argue to you that I'm not breaching the peace, that's not a disbursement warning. That it covers me. They invited me to speak. In fact, you know what? I will take the. You know what? I will take the arrest. I will take the arrest and win. Because you know why? Because I wasn't breaching the peace.
They invited him, man. They definitely did.
He invited me. In fact, you know what? I will win it, and I'll also get the guy who pushed me arrested.
That was an imam wanting to speak to a Christian. That's all it was. That's that imam, innit?
No win.
He's a Christian who wants to speak to an imam. That's all it was, officer.
He literally invited me on stage.
Yeah, he's a good guy, that imam.
I'm going to stand here. I'm going to take the arrest and I'll win. Because I know that I have not been breaching the peace. What, have I been breaching the peace?
That's what I'm saying.
No, because you said the section 35 is under people who have breached the peace. Have I breached the peace?
Well, you jumped in there and...
No, we didn't. It was invited.
It was invited.
It was an imam wanting to speak to a Christian.
Don't lie. Numerous instances.
One guy who assaulted me.
Stop talking over me if you don't want to be spoken to, okay? There's been numerous incidents in the last hour, okay, where arguments have broken out and you've been at the centre in each and every one of them.
No, I haven't. In fact,
yes, you have.
No, it was
yes,
one guy who...
One
guy assaulted me when I came here. The other guy said, I don't want him here. How is that? I have done nothing. If you look at towards the reports that these people have made, I have not contributed anything physically, verbally, intellectually towards someone being under distress. It's this colloquialism that the police use is covered under people who have breached the peace. Have I breached the peace?
The dispersal order has been put in place.
Have I breached the peace?
Yes.
Yes, you have.
By doing what?
No, he hasn't.
I've explained to these.
You have to explain what the grounds. What are the grounds?
Numerous incidents where there's been arguments have broken out, okay?
No, it's
Question
one-way
public, why are you
argument.
in trouble?
Arrest the people who have
Why are you in
complaints against
trouble?
me for no reason.
You're not meant
You know
to
what?
punish innocent.
I guarantee you, with the legal representation that I have, I will be able to laugh at any sheet of paper you give at me. Because firstly, the Sheikh invited me on stage to speak. That is a consensual discussion between a community leader. I think as police officers, in order to alleviate aggression, you would want me to be there to discuss.
Prior to that,
yeah, a guy who assaulted me that you've done nothing about.
Okay,
another guy who just pointed me out when I wasn't even there.
Professionalism, officer. You lost in your call there.
Because you're the one who eagerly tried to get my hold on. You tried to eagerly get my details on camera because you know that fucked me over, including the fact that that is true. Yeah, and I have listened to you, but I'm not giving them my details. Under what section? Section 35, which includes me breaching the peace. Now, have I breached the peace?
Yes, you have.
By
You
doing
have
what?
not breached the
I've been told.
But you've been told.
Explain the grounds of breaching the peace.
What law?
What have I done?
What grounds?
You have to give grounds of why he's breaching the peace. Know what I mean? You can't just say breach of peace. You can't just make it up.
Okay, listen, I'd be happy to stand on the other side of the road. However, that would be by the consent of
We've
your...
already directed you to do that numerous times.
Not on this side of the road.
We've already directed you to stay away from that
you need to
side of
identify
that protest.
what is the parameters
We've
of breaching
already
the
directed
peace.
you to
No, you
stay away
haven't.
from the protest.
You haven't,
numerous
and I've
times.
done that.
Okay, it's on body worn. I have
It's
numerous
on body
times.
worn. We're
And
gonna
so
see.
have the other.
What
So have
you're
the
gonna
other
see is
officers.
the fact
And you
Yep.
keep coming back into it. And every time you go back in there, okay? An argument breaks out and you're at the centre of
Have
it.
I started these arguments? Have I even spoken to the people
Every
that
time you
have
go
these
in there, you're interviewing
Okay.
someone and an argument breaks
No,
out.
I
Okay,
haven't even
therefore, I
interviewed
suspect
people.
you're
I interviewed
breaching the
one
peace.
person. One person, and you've correctly identified
So
the format
just
as
being
an
there is
interview.
breach of the peace.
Well, I've been there on two
That's a bit of a
Okay,
two-tier.
the first occasion was a man who came up to you and said, I don't like him because he does Speaker's Corner videos. The second gentleman assaulted me for no reason as I tried to ask him a question. The third time that you're now using... No, I am not.
Gonna have to arrest him and then he's gonna have to sue you in court,
I'll
isn't
take it. I'll take the arrest.
He'll sue the shit out of you. he? Yeah, arrest him and then he'll sue you, isn't it?
Okay, all right, at the moment, mate, you're under arrest.
Yeah.
So he's arresting young Bob for breaching the peace when he didn't. Yeah, laugh at it, Bob. Take it, mate.
I will take it.
Big up your chest, you young Christian soldier. Yeah. And him man wanted to talk to a Christian. That's what it was. What is wrong with that? So we're not allowed to have religious discussion because it's breach of the peace. So religious discussion, people, is breach of the peace by West Midlands Police. Breach of the peace is religious discussion. Religious discussion is breach of the peace.
Bob, stay calm. Stay calm, Bob. Stay calm, brother.
Big up your chest, Bob.
Set up, Bob. Set up again. Set up. Stay calm.
Bob has took the arrest for the sake of Christian debate. Bob, 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 Bob.
Free, free, Bob. Liberate England.
Free, free Bob. Free, free Bob. Free, free Bob. Free, free Bob. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Bob, for taking that arrest. So, Christian debate between religions is now classed as breach of the peace, by the way.
Okay, then. So the reason why the video ended yet, we're about halfway through, as you can probably tell, but the reason why I haven't ended this video here is because there's something very important I want to add to this video, which was said in the House of Commons, I believe it was, or the House of... In the government, right? They are passing a bill to stop these types of arrests. Now, this bill was introduced, well, finally got approval to go ahead 4 months ago. But yet we're still seeing these types of arrests. Now, the bill won't go ahead until second reading in January. I'm sure it was January-ish. So the police have got until January to absolutely arrest everybody and destroy everybody's lives. Destroy everybody's lives who disagrees with Islam. And if somebody complains about somebody who doesn't agree with Islam. So let's just get into what was actually said.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I beg to move that leave be given to bring in a bill to make provision about freedom of expression in relation to religion or belief systems and for connected purposes. Madam Deputy Speaker, I do not believe that Muhammad was a prophet sent by God. I do not accept the instructions he said he received from the Archangel Gabriel. I do not accept that the Sunnah, or body of Islamic laws, has any relevance to me. I respect the religious beliefs of others, but I do not mind if Muhammad is satirised, criticised or mocked. I'm not a Muslim, and I choose not to live by the moral codes set out by Islam. I'm a Christian, and I should make clear that I don't think anybody should be prosecuted for satirising, criticising or mocking Jesus either. England and Wales abolished blasphemy laws in 2008, and Scotland abolished them in 2021. But even then, those laws had not been used for decades. The last blasphemy trial took place in 1977, and the state hasn't brought a public prosecution for blasphemy in more than a century. But now blasphemy laws are back. I've been advised not to refer to 2 high-profile cases of people being arrested, charged and prosecuted for causing harassment, alarm or distress to Muslims or even nonsensically to Islam itself. So while I will keep my speech to the conceptual, I invite the House to recall that there are real examples of what I raise in the criminal justice system right now. The issue is the way sections 4 and 5 of the Public Order Act 1986 are being used, far beyond the intent of Parliament, to police what we can and cannot say about Islam. I will come to the details of sections 4 and 5, but first I want to say something about the intent of the Public Order Act. The long title of the Act makes clear its purpose was to abolish some common law and statutory offences, to make way for new offences relating to public order. Nowhere in the second reading debate from 1986 did anybody raise the need to protect religions or followers of religions from offence. The context of the Act was football hooliganism and the riots in Brixton and Broadwater Farm. It's true that Part 3 of the Act created new offences relating to racial hatred, and this was amended to include religious hatred by the Racial and Religious Hatred Act 2006. But in Part 3, in Section 29J, to which we will return, the Public Order Act says, "Nothing in this part shall be read or given effect in a way which prohibits or restricts discussion, criticism, or expressions of antipathy, dislike, ridicule, insult, or abuse of particular religions or the beliefs or practices of their adherents." We can therefore be confident that the Public Order Act, even as amended, was never intended to become a blasphemy law. This obvious conclusion is reinforced by the fact that the controversies regarding blasphemy and Islam in this country began 2 years after its introduction, in 1988, with the publication of the Satanic Verses. Since that year, and the protests and fatwa against Sir Salman Rushdie, our public conversation about Islam has been limited through a mixture of self-censorship and more official restrictions, such as the definition of Islamophobia accepted by many public bodies. These restrictions are motivated not by a desire to avoid offence, consider the criticism and mockery made of other religions, but fear of a violent response by those who are offended. Some say public order offences are not the same as a blasphemy law, and that it can be legitimate to prosecute somebody for saying something that might cause wider disorder. Perhaps in some circumstances this may be so, but we should interrogate this line of thinking. First, the Crown Prosecution Service gave the game away by charging one man with causing distress to the religious institution of Islam, which is pretty much the dictionary definition of blasphemy. But second, twisting the law to make a protester responsible for the violent reaction of those who will not tolerate the opinions of others is wrong. It destroys our freedom of speech. Some argue that while this may be regrettable, it's now an unavoidable consequence of the multicultural society in which we live today. By this logic, the state must police the boundaries between different ethnic and religious groups to avoid disorder. But we should be clear that this means state intrusion and a loss of liberty on some occasions, and mob rule on others. This is the very essence of the two-tier policing row we have seen recently. Rough justice for those belonging to identity groups that play by the rules, and freedom from justice for those belonging to groups willing to take to the streets and threaten violence. This is the logic of using the Public Order Act to prohibit us from saying what we like about a religion. A person may be found guilty because of the violent reaction of those offended by their actions. From Sir Salman Rushdie to the Batley teacher still in hiding with his family, the threat of violence is what lies behind these new blasphemy laws. Perhaps we should not be surprised. There are at least 14 Muslim-majority countries where the penalty for blasphemy or apostasy is death, and we have significant diaspora populations from many of them. With the number of people here who came from these countries growing, and the increasing assertiveness of organised political Islam in Britain, this is a problem that seems likely to only get more severe. But the answer is not to surrender to the mob. It is to hold the line, and that is why today I bring forward this bill. Madam Deputy Speaker, I said earlier that Section 29J of the Public Order Act protects criticism, insult, and even abuse of religions and the beliefs and practices of their adherents. But this only applies to Part 3 of the legislation, because Part 3 introduced offences relating to racial hatred, later amended to include religious hatred. Nobody thought Sections 4 and 5, which in Part 1 of the Act make it an offence to cause harassment, alarm or distress by using threatening, abusive or insulting words or behaviour, would be used to criminalise the expression of opinion about religious belief. This bill therefore extends the scope of 29J to the whole of the Public Order Act, thus preventing the use of Sections 4 and 5 as a de facto blasphemy law, and applies Section 29 also to Section 127 of the Communications Act 2003 and Section 1 of the Malicious Communications Act 1988. In doing so, this bill would restore free speech as it applies to religion in England and Wales. It would stop the police, prosecutors and judges from creating a blasphemy law from legislation that was never passed for that purpose. It would send the strongest powerful message from this place, where political power legitimately and democratically resides, that this country will not tolerate intimidation, violence or censorship, that there will be no special treatment here for Islam, and there will be no surrender to the thugs who want to impose their beliefs and culture on the rest of us.
Yeah. The question is that the honourable member have leave to bring in the bill. As many in that opinion say aye. Aye. Of the contrary, no. The ayes have it. The ayes have it. Who will prepare and bring in the bill?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. John Cooper, Luke Evans, Richard Holden, Robert Jenrick, Rupert Lowe, Rebecca Paul, Jack Rankin, Alex Shelbrook, Bradley Thomas, Tom Tugendhat, Gavin Williamson and me.
Nick Timothy.
So there you have it. The debating on if this type of behaviour, which the police have just done to young Bob, was even supposed to be happening under the sections they are using. The answer is no. There was never intended for blasphemy laws, and this is why they have to bring in a whole new bill to stop that bill from being abused. That is how ridiculous our system is becoming. The police are using and abusing bills which are never supposed to be used and abused in the way that they are doing it. Now, obviously every bill's out there to be used and abused in certain ways, but they're just finding loopholes around doing certain things. Now, like I said, this to me is absolutely brilliant news. Gives people like young Bob the ability to go out and do what he does best, have intellectual conversations and debates about other religions without fear of being prosecuted for doing so. That is how ridiculous we have become, that we're hoping MPs fight for our rights to freedom of speech and freedom of expression, freedom to debate all about religion. Absolutely ridiculous. Now, everything I've just said is my opinion. I want to thank my members for being a member. If you want to become a member, click the join button down below. As always, let me know what you thought of this interaction in the comments down below. Like the videos, it does help in YouTube's algorithm, and I'll catch you on the next one.